Welcome, everybody.
Hey, everyone.
I'm Scott Katamas.
Hello.
Aloha.
And that's Monique Darling and Peter Peterson, and I'm Emily Oram. And Paul Sterling will be joining us. And we are very blessed to have our moderator, Mead Rose.
Mead, show yourself for a second. He dashed off.
There I am.
He's hiding. There he is.
Hear any-
And we want to thank Mead for all the things that he does that have made this happen. Thank you very much, Mead.
Thank you.
So it looks like we've got two people live already that are a few minutes early. So we just want to say thank you so much for showing up early. It says a lot about your commitment to yourself to take time to be with us and learn how to have great relationships. And
I see that one of the people joining us is our dear friend Jaguar from New Zealand.
yay.
So that's one of the things that we love about webinars is that we have friends from all over the world joining us. And welcome Ariel, welcome Michael, welcome Alan. And while we're kind of waiting, we're going to start in a few minutes. But please use the chat room. Would love to see where you're from. And
also, just tell us a little bit about like what are you challenged by right now in a relationship? What are you maybe struggling with, or what are you needing support around? Would love to just get your thoughts and feelings in the chat room.
We had about 150 people register, and a lot of them filled out our survey. Do you want to pull up the survey, by the way, so we can look at those numbers?
Yeah, actually, I got the survey here. So
okay, great.
We did a survey just to find out how many people are single and looking for love. And that was about 19%.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a pretty low. That I was
20%.
a little bit surprised. 20%.
Yeah.
We had a striking number of high percentage, which I was really surprised by. 48% of people in long-term relationship wanting to enliven or bring back the passion, and I was surprised by that. I mean, I was like, wow, people in long-term relationship. That's great.
Yeah.
And another, let's see, we had a 19% on. People in a new relationship wanting to sustain and keep the passion alive, keep the honeymoon stage prolonged. And we also had 29%. I made a title for happily single and focused on self.
Very
so
cool.
Yay for self-sourcing.
And welcome, more and more people are coming into the room. I see our friend Golden from San Diego and Svetlana and more people joining us. Let's give Paul and Monique and Peter a chance to say hello and offer a few initial thoughts.
Hi, everybody. You can go first, Paul. I'll go second.
I'm feeling the stress of technology. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Can anybody hear me? Okay.
Yes, we hear you.
Yes.
Thank you. Aloha. I am calling in from Hawaii, and I was on the call earlier. We did all the prep work, and then all of a sudden I got disconnected. So I was freaking out a little bit because I wanted to be here, and this is such important information. And I love working with Scott and Emily, and sometimes it's a really small thing that can make a huge difference in a relationship. I'll tell a quick story and then hand it over to Monique. Tony Robbins, who most people know, was getting coaching from a golf coach, and he hit a swing, and the ball went about 50 yards off course. And Tony said, wow, I'm way off course. I got to make major adjustments. And the coach said, no, you don't. You just got to make a 1/4 of an inch adjustment. And so today, what I hope that you can do is find something where you can make a 1/4 of an inch adjustment, and it has a huge difference in your relationship. So that's my commitment today. Monique.
That's great, Paul. And I'll piggyback on that in that for me, the longest or the greatest benefits that I've seen in long-term relationships are people that are willing to create a practice out of it. So instead of trying to be perfect at everything or even perfect at one thing all the time, you're creating a practice of checking in with each other and finding ways to be more sustainable with each other. And so it really is about practicing and playing together rather than trying to get everything right.
And not being afraid to step into the unknown, and just being present with what is and allow that to come through and find a way to have some joy and love with it.
Thank you, Peter and Monique. Yay.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. We've got actually Paul and Peter and Monique are all in Hawaii. Paul is on the island of Kauai.
We're slightly envious.
Yeah, we are. Here we are in cold Northern California. We're all excited because finally the sun came out for about 5 minutes today.
We did have a pretty good day, actually.
No, really.
We'll be joining you in Northern California in 3 days, guys.
That's right.
Yay,
That's right. And for
yay.
any of you in the Bay Area, we're going to talk about that a little bit later, but we're doing a really exciting workshop on Sunday afternoon in Oakland. Peter, Monique, Emily, and myself.
So anyway, we want to kind of go over the agenda a little bit about what we're here to offer you, and what we've promised you is 5 secrets to reawaken passion, intimacy, and love in your life. So how many of you in the chat box would like to get to know some secrets about how to have more love, passion, and intimacy?
And we love hearing from you in the chat box. I recognize that a lot of people, probably about half the people, are on mobile devices where they might not have access to the chat box.
Mm-hmm.
So bear with us when we reference that. But we really do appreciate those of you that are on a laptop and can chat. It's really good to see what you have to say. Thank you, Jaguar.
Absolutely. Yeah. It was funny because when I said this webinar is only for people that want love and intimacy in their life, I was like, who the hell doesn't want that?
Exactly.
Anyhow, should we get some permissions?
Yeah, let's do permissions.
All right, Paul, you want to hand it over and do a permission? And
Do you want me to do all 3, or?
you just do one and I'll pass it off. And
All right, so one thing we'd like to do is, obviously there's 5 of us in 3 different places, so I'd like you to I guess what I want is more than a permission, a little forgiveness. There are going to be some technical challenges. There's going to be a little bit of bouncing back and forth and coordinating things. So we're really, really, really committed to making sure that you get value today. So give us a little bit of space when we have a little bit of bumps in our technical side, because we're all spread around the world here coming together, and Scott's been, and Emily, masterful at bringing together people that are going to make a big difference.
Paul, are you wanting some empathy and compassion?
Thank you.
And we also wanted to just get permission from you all for our style, which is pretty dynamic. We're pretty spontaneous. Sometimes we'll jump out and just do a vulnerable share, or we'll act out a typical scene of a dynamic that's pretty common in coupleship. Many of you have seen our awesome videos on How Perfectly Human, our YouTube channel. And so if you haven't, definitely check those out. But just a little bit about our style.
Yeah.
So just if that's okay for you, I'd love to get an aho or a yes in the chat box.
We really do appreciate when you give us input, and also let us know if any of you are getting audio or video tech problems at all. It's helpful for us to know. Peter and Monique, let's turn it over to you. Is there anything that you'd like to ask permission for, or kind of support people to get ready for what you have to offer?
Well, we're both kind of like you two in that we like to jump in with vulnerable shares and stories and like really use examples from our own life or what's happening, because so much of our life is living our life as a teaching. Like every day we're out in the world practicing and playing in these things. So we love to add that in. So we're very dynamic in that fashion. And so I think it's going to be really fun for each of us to play off of one another. And I know that we're very similar in that vein.
Yeah, and
And
to
let
be
me
okay
add-
with whatever you're feeling.
Sorry.
To
Go ahead.
share it, basically. I mean, all of your emotions are welcome in this space, and it's safe. So.
Yes, thank you. All emotions are welcome. Right on.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Sterling, take it away.
I just wanted to do one last one. It's obvious there's 5 of us. Any one of us could do a 2 or 3 day course. We're not going to get everything that we've got into this time that we're going to spend together. So I'd like to ask permission if at the end we can, for people who want more information, would it be okay if we told you how to get more information, how to expand and take this information and integrate it into your life so you transform your relationship? Because more information is not necessarily going to transform your relationship. It's when you integrate it and do it on a daily basis, that's when transformation happens. So that's the last that I have there.
Great,
Beautiful.
thank you. Well, you know what? Let's get right into it.
Yeah.
And what I want to do is I want to introduce Monique Darling and Peter. They're going to kind of do the very first secret or secrets, and that's going to be for people who are single, wanting to attract love. Now, for those of you that are in a relationship, still you're going to get some good input and secrets here that you can pass on to your single friends.
Yeah. And specifically, maybe a little bit about people that might be getting their feet wet, dating, being out there in the world, and it's a scary world, being pretty vulnerable and going out and dating.
So we're really excited, and I'm going to introduce Monique, and then I'm going to let Monique introduce Peter. But I've known Monique for many, many, many years, and I have watched. Really, I can honestly say her transformation is as significant as anyone I've ever known. She first came to a workshop I was teaching in Las Vegas, I think about 8 years ago, if I have it right. And she drove all the way with her husband from St. George, Utah. She was this, good Mormon with 3 kids and a wonderful mother, really wanting to understand more about how she and her husband could awaken their sexuality and awaken consciousness in a higher way. And it was amazing. They drove back and forth 3 hours, did my workshop, then went back home, fed the kids, slept there, came back the next day. And she has, in the 8 years I've known her, become one of the most popular teachers of relationship and consciousness and self-love probably on the planet. She travels all over the country, all over the United States, teaching. She's touched the lives of thousands of people. She's working on her first book. She's quite extraordinary. So it's my pleasure to turn it over to Monique Darling.
Thank you so much, Scott. And I just want to add, because it's been so alive on my heart, that knowing Scott, he was one of the first people that really called me to step forward and said, Monique, look, you've done this work. Now come be a colleague with me, and asked me to come and teach my first class with him when I got Cuddle Party certified. And that was a huge step for me to really have someone go from being a teacher to a peer. And I'm so grateful, Scott. So this lovely being to my right is Peter Peterson, and I met him a little over a year ago, and he came to one of my workshops, and there is just this beautiful light that just emanates from this being. And I've had the pleasure of getting to see, when I look at people, then I see your energy, I see your soul that's underneath all of the outside pieces. And as I've gotten to know Peter, he's the closest person that his outsides align with the soul that I see on his inside. And he studied Qigong for the last 14 years and taught it to people all over the world. And it's just been such a beautiful collaboration of both of us putting our expertise together and creating a place for people to be more themselves.
Thank you. You're so sweet. And Scott, what a lovely presentation from Monique. Made me cry. I'm tearing up over here. That's very sweet. And thank you.
Monique has demonstrated beautifully the power of self-love. And there's an echo on someone.
So just make sure you mute when we're talking.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
I think it might have been Paul. But, Monique, you've really shown the power of self-love and really going for it. So with that...
It's what the first thing is we're talking about.
Take it away.
Is that what you're wanting to do? Is you're looking for a relationship, so many people are out looking for that thing, and the thing is really inside of here. And so one of the first things that I talk to my clients or other people that come and ask me questions, and they're like, how do I find the person? How do I find that soulmate? How do I find someone to complement me? Then it's about finding those pieces within yourself. What is the piece that you want most of all, and start offering that. So a lot of people will go out to bars, or they'll go out and they're like, well, I'm going to go meet someone here. And I'm well, what is it that you love? If you love to cook, then go sign up for cooking classes, and you're going to meet people there that are also passionate about cooking. And as the more that you do the things that you love, and the more that you start treasuring your inner self, then the more people are going to start showing up that are already like that being. And like in the old paradigm of relationships, then we show up, we put our best face forward, you go on 2 or 3 dates, and hopefully then the other person's going to like what they see. Like you're just sitting there watching, okay, do they like this? Let's readjust, let's readjust. And the new paradigm of dating is you really, really take the time to get to know yourself and bring your authentic self there and start attracting the people that are attracted to that.
I totally concur. My expertise is in stilling the mind and becoming more present. And if you're distracted, a lovely person may be sitting right next to you on a bus or in a restaurant or somewhere in a social setting, and you may totally miss this person because you're not being present with what is. And I feel like that's one of the most important things for finding out who you really are and the world around you is stilling the mind. And I do that through meditation and through qigong. And to me, it's changed my life tremendously. I would not be sitting here in Hawaii next to Monique Darling if it wasn't for this practice that I found and just being more present with what is. So that's my 2 cents into helping people to find love wherever they are.
So the first secret is authenticity and finding your way to being more vulnerable and authentic. And then you'll begin to magnetize and attract the people that are attracted to your authentic self. Yes.
What you give is what you get.
I want to ask you a question. You just talked about being authentic. And often I know people that are single feel like they have to present their best, their best self. Mm-hmm. So they're posting pictures of themselves taken 10 years ago. Or they're, when they meet somebody on a date, they're talking about all of their accomplishments or, what's best about them. And I think that you have an understanding about the value of being authentic. And I'd love for you to talk a little bit more about what that really means in first meeting people or first putting yourself out there.
Well, that's not so interesting. When someone comes up, like you scroll through the pictures, and there's all these pictures of these super smiling, happy faces, and their hair is perfect, and they're like, oh, I got my degree in this, and I'm this, and this, and this. I don't give a shit. Like, I want to know what are you passionate about? What happens? Like, I love that Araya, Mountain Dream poem of The Invitation, because it's what are the things that really drive you. And so what I can tell people is it's so exciting, and especially in my own life, like that's how I became the Facebook queen, is I started posting the things that I felt were the most unlovable about myself. And Scott, you know this, like 6 years ago, I had a huge, like 250-person birthday party in San Diego. There were tons of DACA and Dakinis and all these amazing facilitators from all over the world that came to celebrate me. And the whole thing was come as you are, come unmask yourself. And so I get up on the stage, and that was like all these tears came. And that was the first time I was able to tell people, look, you're all here. I know that, or I hear that you love me, but I feel alone. And it was because I felt like my insides, if people ever really saw what was happening inside of me, that they loved what they saw on the outside and what I could offer them. And so from that day, I began offering little tidbits, sometimes long tidbits, on Facebook and with my lovers and people that are around me, of what are the parts that are unlovable, what's unspeakable. And it was really scary, and I'd be shaking and crying, and sometimes I call up my husband or other lovers in my life, and I'm like, is this okay to post? But then again and again, those are when people were able to relate with me, because then I became human, they could be human with me, and that's so much more interesting. And so especially if you're single and you're looking for the person or the people, like depending on your preferences of how you want to date, then it's so beautiful to just be able to show up and show the most of your insides on the outside, because that's what's going to be sustainable. That's what's going to keep showing up. That's when you're sick, when you're depressed, when like all of this, everything hits the fan, that's the person that's going to show up. And if you start from that place, then you're already going to start building on a foundation and offering permission for whoever's sitting across from you to show up as human too.
And what we look for in our workshops are people who are willing and people who have kindness. And to me, if you're exuding those two qualities and you're asking questions and being curious, the other person's like, wow, okay, I want to get to know this person. So curiosity, willingness, and kindness are 3 of the most basic ingredients for putting that energy out, and other people will be like, wow, this person is sparkling, this person's shiny. And that's what Monique and I do. We do workshops around how to bring out people's inner sparkle and have fun. So finding your highest excitement, finding your joy, what's alive in your heart in that moment is much more important of a question than like, what do you do? Okay, what car do you drive? Where do you live? Yes, those are important questions, but if you really want to get to know one's soul, you ask them what's alive in their heart and what they're passionate about.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Yeah, I really love the piece about just not creating an image of what you think is perfect or what you think the other person will like to be lovable, but being true to yourself. I mean, so often we go into these habits of people pleasing, you know, like really offering what we think the other person will like and attending to them. And it's just a really big habit that a lot of us have had and a lot of us have outgrown from the old paradigm. But it's good to bring it up because it's a pattern that we can go into that's kind of masking this whole unlovability or undeservability. And so I need to make sure I, you know, tend to the other person to get the love that I want. And it just is a disaster for later on in relationships.
I want to thank Jaguar and Golden and Shaw for your comments. It really is awesome to hear from you. And I got a question for you, Peter. I was really intrigued by what you said about the power of stillness. And in this world where there's so much go, 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 I'd love to hear a little bit more about how really dropping into that still place and perhaps connecting to our heart's longings or connecting to source, higher self. How does that, tell us a little bit about maybe some of your technique for that or how that might serve people.
Well, it's actually one of the most, I think, arduous things you can do to still your mind, but it's also paradoxically one of the easiest things you can do with just a couple of techniques like moving your body. Can you hear me? Okay, good. Just making sure. Okay, so moving your body as lightly and as fluidly as possible opens up energy channels, so energy can flow unencumbered, and it flows in very freely. And you'll notice that when you move your body vigorously and then you want to sit to be quiet, your mind's quite still. Whenever the body is in motion, the mind is usually still. And that's why people love running and swimming and all these other types of movement, because it's like one of those, you know, small places where people can just go and be themselves and not have to worry about tomorrow's PTA meeting or the whatever's going on at work or, you know, Uncle John or whatever. We all have very busy lives, and we need to take care of a lot of things all at once. We live in a world where we're constantly looking at these little boxes and on these screens and very transfixed on past and future. And if you're constantly in that place, the stillness of just being with whoever you are, it gets lost. So to me, I do these movements, and even just like 5 minutes, I feel completely different. I feel relaxed, but also hyper-focused at the same time, which is a very nice juxtaposition of 2 different types of your mind, which is like, hey, I'm focused, I'm here, but I'm not like I just had a cup of coffee and I have to expend this energy. So to me, it's one of the most amazing things you can do, which is finding some movement practice. I don't care what it is, yoga, jumping on a pogo stick, dancing, running, playing basketball. I don't care what it is, but find something that works for you, and then take a moment just to be still. And even if it's just 5 minutes, you'll get tremendous benefit from that. And you'll wake up out of it like you've just been recharged.
Why don't you show them your favorite Qigong move?
I should show them your favorite Qigong. No, okay, so just real quickly, just pull your hands up over your head and go like this. That's it. This is the most powerful move that is known in Qigong. And that's it. You do that for like 3 to 5 minutes. It'll completely transform your day. I've had clients call me and go, oh my God, my boss is such a dick, or like, I can't believe they're saying about this in the boardroom, and they call me up and I'm like, hey, go into the bathroom, just take a couple of minutes and just do your gathering Qi and notice how the rest of your day unfolds. And they always call me back, oh my God, everybody was like, what's going on? It's like, they didn't change, you changed. The energy coming from you was more relaxed. You was flowing. It wasn't stuck inside of your body. And that's basically what this grew, so that the energies, it's flowing.
Beautiful.
It's very simple.
Thank you so much, Peter.
Thank you for the question.
Yeah.
We love simple tools that get us back to connection. So
Yeah, thank you. Well, we're going to be hearing more from Peter and Monique in a few minutes, but our next secret is called Secret for New Relationship, and it's an opportunity for me to introduce one of my best friends and my partner in Love Coach Academy, Mr. Paul Sterling. And Paul is a brilliant coach who also teaches all over the country, specializing in relationships, but also he works a lot with really helping people to get the max out of lives. He's studied with many of the great teachers, Marshall Rosenberg, Marshall Thurber, Tony Robbins, and he hasn't just studied with them, he's been close and allies and worked with all of them. So, and other teachers as well. So, anyway, I should mention one other thing about Paul. Since he's talking about Secret for New Relationship, a while back, he met an extraordinary woman. They are having an extraordinary relationship, and because we're good friends with them, we get to hang out and see this beautiful love that they have. And so I'm going to introduce Paul Sterling, who is truly in well, it's not so new anymore, but was in a new relationship and has aced it all the way. Take it away, Paul.
Thank you, Scott. And aced it all the way is an overstatement, but I've been able to apply the tools and make it something magical. And I want to start with just a quick story. I teach something called nonviolent communication. It's one of the things I teach, and Scott knows it. Most of the teachers on this line know it. And I was going to teach in prison, and I was on my way, and that morning I'd had bacon. And I got a piece of bacon stuck in my tooth. And have you ever had like something stuck and it becomes all-consuming? It's this tiny little thing, and it feels huge. And so I was trying to get it out with my tongue, and then I grabbed a business card and I put the card wedged in there. And then what happens when you take the card and wedge it in there? I ended up...
Paul?
Yes?
There's something going on audio-wise. You sounded great at the beginning, but now we're getting a lot of feedback, a lot of fuzz. Try again. Let's see. I don't know if it was your headset. Try talking again.
All right, I will try. How am I now?
Terrible. Not good. We're loving the story, though.
What's this?
This is why we asked all of you to be patient with us, because there are inevitable...
That's not working.
Oh.
Why don't you guys go to something? I will try something on
now.
this end and then come back to
You did is good. You're good now. Paul, can you hear us? You're good now. He wants us to talk. Because it did get better at the very end. The last thing you said sounded good. So if you need time to fix it, you can. Otherwise, you can continue and give it a try.
Can you hear me now?
sound great.
That's great.
Well, I'm glad I asked permission for technical difficulties. I wasn't asking to. Okay. So I'm going to go back to toothpicks, a story. Bacon stuck in there, that's all I could think about. I'm supposed to be going and being enlightened and teach all these prison inmates about great communication. I get stuck, and then I take a business card, stick it in there, and end up with the business card stuck in my teeth, too. And finally, I stop the car, I dig around, and I find, I wish I had one right here, but a toothpick. And the point of the story is simple. With the right tool, it became easy. I got the bacon out, I got the business card out. It all became easy with the right tool. When you're using the wrong tool, the more that you do it, the worse it gets. So I work a lot with couples that have been anywhere from brand new in relationships to ones that are in relationship 30 years. What I want to do is give you a tool that I've been giving to the people that have been in relationships for 10 years, 20 years, and it's fallen apart, and they want to bring back the love. So that you take the same tool and you can use it with a new relationship, and it keeps it going up. So relationships you start like this. Things are going great, and then things go like this, and then things go downhill. Now, what's that turning point? Now, that could be 1 day, 1 week, 1 year, 10 years. What it is on this side, it's easy to win in the relationship and hard to lose. So at the beginning, you know, your lover brings you a little rock and you go, oh my God, a rock. I love this rock. Thank you so much. And you go and tell all your friends that your lover brought you a rock. Now they're going, oh, new relationship, I can tell. Later on, he paints the house and he paints the trim a different color than you want, and you go, oh, what a loser, couldn't paint the trim different. So what happens on this side, it's easy to win, hard to lose. When the relationship starts going down the other side, it becomes easy to lose and hard to win. So the key to keeping a relationship going up is what I call making daily deposits in your bank account. And what that means is there's a relationship bank account. So if you have a bank account and you continue to write checks but don't continue to make deposits, what ends up happening is you end up bankrupt. What makes a relationship keep going up and up and up is when you continue to make deposits that are bigger than your withdrawals. So I've had clients that have been married 20 and 30 years. They weren't even sleeping in the same bedroom. They were really in tough state, and I couldn't work with them right away, so I gave them a homework assignment until we could work together. And the homework assignment was simple. Make daily deposits in your lover's bank account. So it could be a foot massage, it could be flowers, it could be a 5-minute heart-to-heart authentic conversation, take them to dinner, just something. Make a daily deposit, each of you, and then send me a text. Tell me that you've done it. And you would be amazed at the results. Now, I was told to talk about a beginning relationship, but I wanted to tell you what works in long-term relationship, because you just keep that at the beginning, start making daily deposits. Let them know. What you're trying to do is build that bank account so that it is a big bank account, and you're not going to go relationship bankrupt. So back to you, Scott. Let me see. Yep. Yes. That's part of what I have to cover for today.
Beautiful. I really love how the idea is you got to put more in, so you have more of an abundance rather than it going back into deficit. And it's just such a key thing in relationship, and it's one of the things that keeps our relationship so amazing is that we nurture each other every day.
A lot.
A lot. We make a commitment. We usually spend about at least an hour a day holding each other and releasing energy or massaging each other or nurturing each other. And I guess the thing that comes to mind too is to find out what your lover really loves. You know, because we all have different love languages, and so that's kind of the thing that came up to me is some people really like gifts, some people really love touch, some people really love reassurance and words of affirmation, some people just love quality time.
Yeah.
So find out what your lover really loves and give that to them. It's pretty simple.
Yeah. And certainly, Monique and Peter, if you want to come in and add any thoughts about secrets for new relationship, we're all going to kind of take turns riffing on each other. And so, love to. I saw you comment there, and I have a feeling you might have something to add there, Monique or Peter, or both.
Well, so Jaguar was talking about appreciation, and I found that to be so beautiful, especially in new relationships, of being able to get to that gratitude. And it's definitely a practice that I use, even in long-term relationships, like with my sons and my mom. But in new relationships, it's really finding the appreciation in the moment and be as specific as I can. And wow, instead of just "I love you" or "I appreciate you," it's like I really appreciate how you're able to come and initiate this conversation that was really hard for me. And like now I'm able to speak about what it was that I was hiding, like what was I trying to protect, like really find the specific appreciation for your partner. And you're doing that several times a day. Like it brings, in my experience, it brings such closeness because the person really feels like they're being seen.
And when the person is being possibly despondent or non-reactive or not, you're trying to connect with them and they're kind of putting a wall up, the best thing to do is keep going, keep trying to break through that wall and say, hey, I'm not leaving this room until you give me an answer, you let me know what's going on with you, and not just brushing it under the rug and just pretending like nothing had happened. So I think that's a very important point.
Wow.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Fully, I really heard that as like fully showing up for someone and saying, I'm here for you and I really want to know what's going on. So giving them that quality of care and presence and attention. I mean, that's, so many people are deprived of that, you know. I really think it's sad.
You know, it's funny because I want to riff on that also. What I was thinking I wanted to share as a secret for any relationship, but definitely new, is let your lover or your new friend know what your veils of past pain are, what your trigger points are, what those maybe experiences you've had that impact you. Because as we get older, we have hurts, we have disappointments, and sometimes there's certain situations that can trigger us, certain things that happen that Emily and I like to call veils of past pain that come down and block us from our ability to see the other person clearly or to see the world clearly. And if we can vulnerably share, hey, I just need to let you know that I can get really easily triggered and claustrophobic when I'm in a loud, crowded department store or a loud place, as an example.
Right. And it reminds me of this memory of when my mom and I were in a supermarket and there was just so many people and she was yelling at me. So it just gives you that relation. And what it does is it creates a beautiful emotional intimacy. And if you notice your partner actually starting to shut down or starting to not move toward intimacy, that could be a red flag. And that's why we talk with people in new relationships. It's really important to start talking about more of the challenging stuff and your vulnerable stuff, because if they can't and aren't willing to meet you there, then that's a red flag to, you know, really check in with yourself. Is this something I really want to put my time and energy into? Honestly,
I always suggest before you have intercourse with someone, really reveal some of your scariest, most vulnerable parts of yourself and see how they respond. Can they hold space for that? You know, even I was just thinking about someone we were working with a week ago, and they're dating right now, and he's still kind of, you know, testing the waters and sleeping with other women, and she's really, before she has sex, really needs to have a commitment, needs to know, wants to be exclusive. She's got kind of boundaries. And she wanted to kind of find out, well, I'd love to know about this other lover that you have, and I really want to know what her needs are so I can really know where I stand within that other relationship. And he really started to close down. And it's you know, and it's very vulnerable stuff, but it really is. That's high level consciousness, is kind of getting in there and going, okay, what's going on in your world? Where do I fit in? You know, how can I be aware of the other relationships, especially in new relationships if they're still dating, or even, you know, people doing polyamorous relationships. Yep. Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to, by the way, definitely ask questions. We're going to kind of go through our initial set of secrets, and then we're going to open it up to questions and answers. So I see that people are already beginning to write in there. We love your comments in the chat room, really helpful. And thank you, Monique, so much for answering Diane's question and just engaging the chat box. That's brilliant. Yeah, connected timeouts is one of our major teachings. All right, we actually are going to go back to Monique and Peter. You will hear from Emily, and you'll hear a little bit more from me later on. But we're going to go back to Monique and Peter for Secret for Long-Term Partnership. And Monique has had a very successful and rather unique marriage. I imagine she'll be talking about that. And that's why we decided to give her that secret when we were breaking these down. Yeah, so. Yeah. So take it away, Monique and Peter.
Okay, so I'm going to share with you my four platitudes that I have for life. It's show up, pay attention, tell your truth without judgment or blame, and be open to alternate outcomes. And if you can do those 4 things, the person who you're in relationship with can really see and hear you clearly, and you have multiple paths to go down that could be very beneficial for you, instead of holding on. Like the love enders are jealousy and expectation and neediness. You want to throw those aside, and really you want to step into awareness, honesty, responsibility, being vulnerable, having clear communication, and opening, and to bring in the woo-woo, opening your heart. And if you're doing those things, I really feel like there's no relationship can fail if you're honestly putting out that type of energy and being present in that way.
Can you say them again, Peter? And just like slow down a little bit, because so people
can. Sure. Okay. So show up, pay attention, tell your truth without judgment or blame. Be open to alternate outcomes. Mm. Those last 2 are vitally important, because if you're telling the truth and there's some blame attached, and you have to remember, it's not just what you're saying, it's how you're saying it. We have to be very cognizant of that, because you can easily shame someone by telling your truth and you're being honest with that person. And that's great, but if you're telling it in a way that's shaming them or blaming them or putting guilt, the other person's not going to hear it, and they're going to become resentful and probably build a wall between you 2.
You want to share what happened?
I think you should tell the story. Go ahead.
So about a week ago, then Peter and I were in a week-long camp, and people are opening up, and we had a moment where he brought up a subject that we talked about many times before, but for whatever reason it brought up a huge reaction inside of me. And instead of being able to say, hey, wait, slow down, like anything, the only words that came out of my mouth is, why would you bring that up here? And there was just like so much, and we were able to table the talk. Like, we did a connective timeout, which was really big for both of us, because I'm usually the one that's like, no, we need to talk about this, I cannot sleep until we've talked it out and worked it out. And instead we just both agreed, we're tired, we're going to go to bed. And we had a really amazing conversation the next day, and got really clear that even though I've used why questions, like I've asked why my entire life, and it's been a curiosity, it can also be used to cover up and deflect when I was really afraid. And so we were able to talk, and I found this very useful with my husband, with like clients that are in long-term relationships, are the more honest that you can be with yourself, and then the more willing that you're able to share what are you most afraid of, like really what's alive in your heart. And so instead of saying, why would you say that, then it's like, the real question you want to ask is, why am I feeling this? Like, why is this coming up in me? And have your partner be able to be in that same space with you. I know this hasn't, we've talked about this many times. I've never had this reaction before, but right now I'm sick to my stomach. Like, I feel a lot of shame. I feel a lot of emotions coming up, and I don't know what to deal with them. I just want to run away and not feel this pain. And so would you be willing to be my ally in helping me find out why, instead of why would you do this?
So the profundity of this revelation was tremendous. And to figure out that when you ask the question why, in this sense, in this context, you're building a wall between you and your partner. I mean, there's no way around it. You're literally it's an attack why, instead of like really an interrogative, curious why. So it was just like this light bulb going, like, oh my God, we get it. And it really brought us closer together. And we had the most amazing couple of days after that, where we were really getting into a flow of understanding each other's communication and how we be with one another. And I really want to give props to Monique for being able to table the conversation, because we were both agitated, we were both frustrated, we were both irritated, we were just in not a steady place in our mind, but we were able to go, you know what, it's late, we're tired. Let's just fall asleep. We'll wake up with fresh eyes and look at each other with some compassion and empathy about what transpired last night. And it worked tremendously. I know this is a hard thing to do, to fall asleep when something is eating at your brain. Your brain's going downhill. You know, your brain is like a locomotive going downhill, and it's rapid fire, all these thoughts like, I can't believe he said that, or this, but it's like, just take a breath, you know, take a step back and be like, hey, we're going to sleep on this. We're going to wake up the next day, and we're going to talk like adults and figure this out. And that's exactly what we did.
And the beauty, too, is I've been in situations where it's like, fine, we'll just table this talk. It wasn't like that. It was like we fell asleep holding hands. Like, there was the beauty of us being allies while still not having to be on the same page.
Exactly.
And it was beautiful. And for me, a key component of being in a long-term relationship is offering the other person space to show up exactly as they are.
Yes.
So like with my husband that I've been married to for 22 years now, like over the course of 10, 12 years, we started realizing there were many, many differences than the person who we had married. And so it was really being willing to, wow, I'm really used to this part of you, and I would like for that part to keep showing up, but that's not you now. And so can I really see you? And so I like to talk about that it's being able to state your desires and your preferences, and even like Scott, you talk about your morning together, the things that you wish that you were on the same page, but you just aren't. But it's really being able to underlying key component is, more than anything, I want to see who you are right now. And so it's loving the reality of the person more than it is any obligation or commitment or a thing that you've grown to love with them. Then you really want to see who they are right now. Because the beauty of the unknown is something that you can't even comprehend. And it could be scary, but it's also something that you can't even imagine, and that can only happen when you're able to open up and say, who are you right now?
Yeah, step into the unknown and just have fun with that instead of trying to formulate and compartmentalize and try and make everything out to be exactly right. So yeah, that's to finish the list: awareness, honesty, responsibility, vulnerability, and clear communication. You're doing those 5 things. Whatever relationship you're in, you're going to be successful if you're honestly doing those things.
And practicing.
Practice.
Beautiful.
Wow, there was a lot of gems in there, guys. Like, I even have some notes down here. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for your wisdom. A few things I'd love to state to recap that really stood out for me, because I just want to really highlight the beauty of your teachings. Obviously, show up, pay attention, speak your truth without judgment and blame, and be open to alternate outcomes. I really love that, like really checking into that list. Like, where can I adjust so I can be in alignment with that list? I love what Monique said when she was vulnerable and she was able to really get under her vulnerability. We talk a lot about the reptile brain in our work, and so does Paul Sterling, and we have our reptile here coming. So what we want to do is we want to get out of that back part of the brain, which is it's so normal. It's like it's here to help us, but we have to learn to be able to manage it so it doesn't run us. But what happens is we often get into this part where we go up into reasoning. And that's where Paul has his little Einstein little character, and that's where we start using questions. You know, we start using our mind to try to psychoanalyze or figure out things when we're triggered, or try to get to the bottom, and we seem all intelligent and self-righteous and we got it, and we're also still fucking triggered. So it's just really good to know that when we can go into our feelings and needs is when we're starting to then get back to our heart. And that's what we want to teach everybody here. Thank you, Paul, for holding up the heart, is how to be powerfully, courageously vulnerable, and how to risk putting yourself on the line in that space, no matter what's going on around you, no matter even if the person goes crazy. It's like you're being an act of love and care by powerfully being vulnerable in your truth. And I loved when Monique said, "Would you be willing to be my ally to help me figure this out?" to her partner,
Yeah,
Peter.
that's
That was,
beautiful.
I got chills.
Yeah, that's
It's
awesome.
like asking for help, you know, and you know, like I love what Paul Sterling says is that men usually in relationships, they want to be the hero. So when the woman's able to go, wow, I really need help figuring this out, it allows him to step forward in powerful contribution to his woman. And that's hot, sexy. So those are a few things that, you know, I wanted to recap.
All right. Well, thank you. Secrets for Long-Term Relationship. And we're going to move on to the next one, which is Secret for Self, how to get yourself turned on. And I've enjoyed kind of introducing each of our love coaches. And now I get to introduce my beloved, Emily. Emily, I've been around the block. I've met a lot of amazing people, a lot of amazing women. Emily has an ability to self-source and take care of herself. That's truly a superpower. And a lot of the people that she coaches and that we teach don't even know what self-sourcing means. It's like, well, what's self-sourcing mean? And she truly is the master of it. And what I've learned is because she knows how to take such good care of herself, I don't have to rescue her. I don't have to fix her. I definitely don't have anything about her I want to change.
If anything, you kind of chase after me, like,
yeah. Is there anything you need? Is there anything I can do to help you? Is there any way I can be the hero? Oh, I can do the dishes. Okay, well, I'll do that.
I do appreciate when you do the dishes.
It's kind of like that. But, you know, it's actually, for me, been a really beautiful change. Instead of trying to fix or rescue, she's totally self-sourced. She loves herself. She's got a great relationship to herself, a great relationship to God, whatever that means to each of us. She has her own unique experience of that. And so, as a result, when we come together, it's very holistic and very refining our diamonds, refining ourselves.
I love that.
Yeah, you know,
Refining
so
our diamonds.
we refine our diamonds together. So anyway, to give you probably more than one secret, but at least one secret for self, how to get yourself turned on, beloved Emily.
Oh, thank you, Scott, so much. So what is self-sourcing? Self-sourcing, what I like to say is that I'm all about helping us break the patterns of dependency or codependency, which is looking to others or an outside source for our happiness, for our security, and for our fulfillment. And instead, looking inward, inside, to get those needs met for self-love, knowing your boundaries, knowing your needs, taking good care of yourself, and putting yourself first. We have a beautiful statement that we love to say is, when we honor ourself fully, we honor the entire universe. And I just want to say, Scott Katamas, thank you for that beautiful quote. So I just want you to really contemplate that. When I honor myself fully, I honor the entire universe. It's like what's within, deeply within, what I honor within, I emanate without. So I just invite you to take that in on a deeper level. So I'm going in deeper into a secret to get yourself turned on, and I'd love to get your permission to go on a 5-minute guided imagery meditation journey with me. Usually I like to take people into really elaborate ways to kind of get in touch with their senses and go inward, but I'd love if we could do a 5-6 minute journey, and you can just go ahead and say yes in the chat box if you feel good about that. And I'd love to invite you just to kind of sit back in your chair, kind of allow your eyes to flutter close, to back off the computer, and just to drop into the beauty of your breath. And just noticing your breath, feeling the gentle expansion on the inhale, that wonderful life-giving breath. And on the exhale, just allowing yourself to make maybe some sighs. And your body might shake, or as you just breathe, what I call the body tends to off-gas or release energy. So just welcome whatever arises, any yawns or any experience that might be rippling through your body, welcoming whatever arises. And just allow yourself, as you're breathing, to allow your body to drop toward the earth. Relaxing your shoulders, relaxing your heart, breathing deeply into your belly, and allowing the belly to soften and open. Just feeling the beauty and the weight of your body to gravity. Feeling beloved Mother Earth holding your body perfectly, gentle yet firmly rooted, grounded. As you're with your breath, I invite you just to drop deep inside, going inside this inner world, letting go of the outside circumstances or worries or cares, coming into you. I'd like you to imagine yourself in a beautiful, sacred cove, in a beautiful nature spot, maybe on a secluded island. Allow yourself to feel yourself there right now. Just seeing the vista of the ocean, feeling your feet in the warm sand, allowing yourself to even take in the smells around you, the salt water, inhaling the fresh breeze that's caressing your skin and moving through your hair. Just allow the beauty around you to captivate your senses. Really feel and take in the beauty, the deliciousness of this environment that's surrounding you right now. Just noticing what you feel as you look around. What do you see? What do you hear? Just welcoming the senses fully. And I'd like you to look to your left and imagine that you see a beautiful waterfall. And this waterfall is warm water, and you feel called to just gently put your body underneath this waterfall. And feel that wonderful, wonderful warm water trickling down your body. Just feeling it washing, cleansing any impurities, anything that no longer serves you. Just washing away the day, your worries, concerns, doubts. Just feel it on your skin. Opening up even your crown, opening up the energy of your crown and allowing this warm water to wash over your body. Breathing. And just noticing in the distance a beautiful spot that you'd like to sit down. Maybe a warm rock. Just noticing you feel compelled, the perfect place to sit. Allow yourself to go there now. And as you sit down, allow your body to commune with wherever you're sitting, fully surrendering into this perfect place that's holding your body, Mother Earth. Take a deep breath in. As you're really taking in the beauty, feeling deeply this perfect spot, this perfect space, your perfect space. I'd like you to imagine, what can I imagine right now that would bring me so much pleasure in my body. Really allowing that image to come to the forefront. Whatever it is, could be as simple as maybe someone touching you a certain way. It could be the image of someone you love. Whatever it is, allow yourself to welcome that into your body. Feeling that deeply inside your heart and even your belly, breathing in. I'd like us just to repeat some mantras. I allow this pleasure into my body.
I allow this pleasure into my body.
I allow this pleasure into my body. I allow this bliss into my body. I allow this bliss into my body right now.
I allow this bliss into my body right now.
And just putting a hand on your heart and giving yourself the gratitude for allowing yourself to feel this pleasure, this bliss, this joy. Whatever it is, remembering the memories, the sensations of what you've gotten from this experience, and allowing yourself that you can note that you can return here at any time for your inner refuge, this time for self-pleasure, self-bliss, and making yourself a priority. So let's take one deep inhale just to seal it in. So let's inhale. And let it out. Allowing that energy to ripple down to your feet. And gently, when you're ready, coming back into the room.
Thank you so much, beloved. That's awesome. Thank you. We'd love to hear from some of you in the chat box how that experience was for you. And what I'm hearing, and I'd love for you to riff on it also, is that turning yourself on is really taking the time to slow down. There's that stillness piece that Peter was talking about earlier. Slow down and really love yourself.
Oh my God.
Remember love or imagine love, whatever it may be.
Yeah, and it's a wonderful way to fill yourself up. I mean, I do this, a rendition of this in my own practice pretty much every day. I have practices where I feel myself literally making love to the divine of what that means to me. And it's literally feeling the energy around me pulsing and moving in my body and allowing my body to open up and soften to receive. Often we're so driven and looking to get our needs met externally, and we think that we've got to do and go, like Peter said, but really the more we surrender and allow, the more what we want comes to us. It's this paradox, and it's beautiful. And I think a lot of us on the call can, I know Monique's big on self-pleasure and really getting yourself turned on, and this is a beautiful practice.
To really love another, one must be able to receive that love. And, often in our culture, we look for love outside to meet our needs. But what Emily and I have noticed, both with ourselves and very much with the people that we respect who have great relationships, they've learned to love themselves. And they've also learned to create a beautiful quality of connection to Source, whatever you want to call it, higher self, God, whatever your belief is about that which is creating this. When you have your own relationship to Source and self, and it's healthy and loving, then we're not dependent on another. We don't have those expectations. We're not grasping. We're in a state, and we become very magnetic. Do you notice just how magnetic she looks when she's, really in that state of self-love? It's very beautiful.
And ultimately what we want to do is we want to learn to give from the overflow. So many people that we see come to us, they're so taxed out and they're so resentful because they're not taking care of themselves. And there's so much conditioning that's based in external results. I've got to do this, and when I do this, this, and this, then I can relax. And we just ask that you just blow up that old paradigm and really create quality time to explore yourself, get to know yourself, and get yourself turned on. Lots of self-care and self-pleasuring practices. So how can you create more of that in your life and make a commitment to it?
I want to thank Audrey and Mimi and Amber and Jean and Jaguar, all of you, for your wonderful comments. It's so great to read what you're asking and some of your sharings. Mimi always has wonderful things to offer. Anyway, so thank you, and we're really enjoying your comments. We have one more secret, and then we're going to open it up to a little bit of question and answer, and then we've got a couple of last things to share with you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your comments in the chat box. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's really beautiful to see all those comments coming in from everybody. Thank you so much. So the final secret is for the greatest aphrodisiac of all.
And I'd love for Paul just to, if you'd be willing to tell us a little bit about Scott.
I have to admit, I sometimes suffer from premature evaluation. Got a little bit excited there.
You get to receive appreciation and validation.
Thank you.
I think to make this, well, let's see. I have studied some amazing things, and including Tony Robbins and Marshall Thurber and Marshall Rosenberg, and I have been a relationship coach for probably about 20 years. And when I get stuck, the guy that I go to is Scott. And Emily now too, but Scott has been my go-to guy when I can't figure something out, when I need empathy and understanding. He is a master at giving it and master at teaching it, and had been a movie maker and has worked for, what was it, Jane Fonda, and I just and was at the right hand for a while at Marshall Rosenberg. But the big thing, like Scott's superpower, there's a lot of things I could go on and on, but Scott's superpower is truly his ability to give empathy under almost any circumstance with almost any person. And it is a magic power that we all want to learn in relationships, because there is such a deficit on this planet of empathy and understanding. And if you want to walk away with a skill that is really cracks people's heart open, take the time to listen to Scott and learn from him. So that's my introduction.
Thank you.
It's so true. I just want to riff off that a bit. I won't be long. But Scott has the ability to hear really hard stuff. I mean, people in serious attack, blame, shame, make wrong, and keep his heart open and be able to translate all of that and really, I mean, he's a master translator. And that is, I don't know many people that can do that. Most people crumble under really hard circumstances and just go into, I need to cut that person out. Certainly I create quicker boundaries with people than Scott does. And so I'm learning to really build that muscle. How can I really show up? And even when it's hard, keep showing up and keep my heart open. And this guy knows how to do it.
Thank you. I'm actually feeling a little embarrassed. So thank you both, Emily and Paul, for those beautiful comments, and I really appreciate that. Okay. Well, I want to be of value, and so I want to just share this secret for the greatest aphrodisiac of all. And I have had the pleasure of coaching thousands of people and hundreds of couples, and really the greatest aphrodisiac of all is the quality of presence. You know, there's a wonderful line, you may have heard it. It goes, the past is history and the future is a mystery, but the greatest treasure of all and the greatest gift is what we call the present. And there's a reason we call it the present or presence. And that is because when we can really gift a friend, a family member, a loved one, a coworker, even someone who's angry at us or who's triggered by what we said or did or didn't do, when we can give them the gift of presence, not defending ourselves, not deflecting it, not distracting it, not diminishing it, but really being fully present to this person's world, as Paul Sterling teaches, dropping into their world. That is amazing. And it's beyond, it's in love relationships, it's an aphrodisiac. In non-sexual relationships, it's heart opening. Because we all want to know that you care about me.
Yeah.
Even that person that you hardly know, who may be treating you like crap, if you can demonstrate care, miracles can happen.
Yeah.
I love watching that. When I actually kind of enjoy now, if just a stranger doesn't know that I'm Scott the Love Coach, if someone's kind of crappy to me, I love to see what can I imagine is going on in their world. What can I guess that I can give them authentic appreciation for, or authentic connection for, and how quickly can I get them to go from, into opening their heart. And you know what? It's just kind of figuring out, how can I show care? How can I give them presence? And it may be as simple as saying, oh, I'd love to know what's really going on for you right now. If it's about me, is there something I did that offended you? Or if there's something going on in your day, do you just need someone to share that with? You would be amazed. First, it's a pattern disrupt. First of all, when you do that, it is a pattern disrupt. So you might get, oh, what the huh? You might get a little of that. And then you go, I'm just curious. I'd love to know. And you'd be amazed how all of a sudden then somebody is opening up and sharing beautifully.
It's amazing because a lot of times when people are coming with their stuff, a lot of times they're projecting, they're coming with their old baggage and their old wounding, and they're throwing it on you, and it's an opportunity because a lot of times what happens is they're expecting the old paradigm thing back, to reiterate their wounding, to reiterate the pattern of the cycle that's keeping them into, that place of anger or wherever they are. And so when you, like what Scott said, create a pattern disrupt with a compliment, with appreciation, with, wow, I really want to understand you, with care, you literally shift the pattern of trauma in their ancestral line. And so you're basically stepping up as the hero and the angel in their life, whether you realize it or not.
And then you get to receive the most amazing gifts. I'm going to tell a very brief story. I taught in the prison system for a while, and it was like Paul, who also has taught in the prison system. It's a really wonderful experience. When I would go to the room where I was teaching, I always had to go through the kitchen of the prison I was in. And there was this big guy, I mean, he was this really large, probably 280-pound black guy, tons of tattoos. And as I would walk through the kitchen, he was the butcher in the kitchen. He was a big convicted felon with knives, right? And I'd kind of walk past him, and he would, like, throw little barbs my way. And I had to go past him every time I was on my way to the room where I was teaching compassionate communication.
Which is scary,
this guy scared the crap out of me. He really did. He scared there, and he would throw out, little comments like, oh, white boy, or oh, Mr. Communication, and I would speed up and pretend that I didn't hear him. Now, of course, the more that I sped up and the more I pretended I didn't hear him, the louder he'd become, and the more obnoxious and offensive his comments became.
So almost like his needs for attention, validation, wanting to be
connection,
seen. Yeah.
Were driving him. And luckily I had a coach named Marshall Rosenberg who, as I listened to Marshall teach, and he talked about dealing with hecklers, I realized, wow, can I possibly do what Marshall does? Drop into this guy's world. So honestly, I kind of rehearsed in my mind and I practiced So one day, as I knew that I was going to go through that kitchen, I actually got there about 20 minutes before my class, so I'd have some time. I walked slowly. Of course, he started in with his comments. I stopped. I pulled up a chair. I sat down in the chair in front of him, so I'm actually looking up at him.
Wow.
And I said, I'd love to know if I've done something to offend you. I'd really love to know what's going on, because honestly, when I walk by and you say those comments, they shake me up. They've scared me. They've affected me. And I just love to see what's going on with you. Now I want you to know, I was scared shitless.
Yeah, you're probably shaking.
I rehearsed this scene in my mind a lot. And I think I actually walked past him once or twice before I even did it. And then I finally sat down and did it. Of course, it was the pattern disrupt. He pulls up a chair, he sits down, we start talking. And you know, I want to acknowledge I had so much prejudice about him. I had all this prejudice about how he was big and black and maybe stupid and just wanted to scare me. And we got talking and we developed this connection, and he asked me if the next time I came by he could show me something. And I said, yeah. And so the next time when I came by, he pulled out what he wanted to show me. And it was this book of artwork that he did. And the artwork was of little animals playing with each other, doggies and kittens and puppies, and it was beautiful. I mean, it was like really, really, by the way, high quality artwork, and sweet and innocent and pure. And here I was, I had just put him into prison of my own fear, and I had ripped myself off from the joy of seeing who this being really was. And so it's an example of when I gave him the gift of presence, and he gave me the gift of who Otis, his name was Otis, who Otis really was. The gift of, oh my God, this being is so much more than what I saw or what I thought. And so the greatest aphrodisiac, if you're with a lover and you've done something to trigger them, give them the gift of your presence. And if it's a family member or someone that's hurting, give them the gift of your presence. And that's really kind of what I just wanted to share as my piece.
Wow.
And open it up to Emily, or if Monique or Peter or Paul want to riff on that, and then we'll head into a little bit of question and answer.
Well, I'd love Paul to take it away. I'm kind of recovering over here.
It's amazing. One of the things that I think about is almost all communications either an act of love or a cry for help. And it takes incredible courage. You know, there was a movie, We Bought a Zoo, and Matt Damon's in there, and he talks at one point about 30 seconds of insane friggin' courage, or some other way of saying it. And it's amazing what happens. In fact, I heard nothing great ever happens until somebody's vulnerable. And so I want to acknowledge Scott for the vulnerability that created an opening. And I just taught 2 nights ago here in Hawaii, and the men in the room, I just have to let the women know, most men, whether you know it or not, are terrified of you. They're terrified of your wrath. They're terrified that you're going to withhold love, affection, and appreciation, and sex, and all that. And so it's hard for us to be vulnerable around you. And Scott just gave you a beautiful example of what happens when we are. And it goes both ways, both for the men and for the women. A magic happens when you're powerfully vulnerable and you reach out to enter somebody else's world and really get them. And that's what happened there. And it happens all the time, all around us, if somebody's a leader, if somebody's willing to lead the thing. All Scott had to do is pull up a chair and muster his courage. And think about, and this goes back to what Monique talked about earlier with Peter, enemy or ally. Do we see these people as our enemies or our allies? And that's so powerful for me, just to have that simple question, enemy or ally. And what happens in relationships where they get screwed up is we start seeing our partner as the enemy, and we stop seeing him as the ally, and we stop being vulnerable and compassionate. So Scott, that was awesome. Thank you.
Well, I think unless is there anything you want to add, or should we go to questions?
Yeah, no, I really, that's one of the most powerful things that we can do in relationship is really make a commitment to let go of our enemy images. Yeah. For the ways that we've created prejudices and judgments and just these images of people that are keeping them in prison based in our ideas of what we think of them. And it's just causing so much pain and suffering in yourself, most of all. But also it's reflecting, if you're in pain yourself and in misery and suffering, you're going to create that on the outer world and have that in your relationships. So how can we let go of our enemy images and really be powerfully vulnerable and courageous in stepping up in compassion?
Thank you for
Yeah.
that. It's interesting, just as you said that, Jaguar, who's one of our dearest friends, she lives in New Zealand, wrote, "Magic happens when you're powerfully vulnerable." The same words you just used. Mm-hmm. So we want to open it up if there's any questions that any of you have. Would love to answer those questions. I think one thing I want to mention, we were talking about enemy images. We haven't mentioned it today, but it's really important to know that it's been shown, researchers have learned that we carry memory of pain and painful encounters with another at 5 to 30 times greater than memory of pleasure. So even if you're in a romantic relationship or you have close friendships or family members, every time you experience being judged or blamed or shamed by that person, you need between 5 and 30 pleasurable encounters just to balance it out in terms of how your mind recognizes and perceives that person. That's why we can go from being very much in love with someone and who I want to spend my life with to being in divorce court, or I don't want to ever see that person again. Because if there's enough experiences of perceiving that we're being judged, blamed, or shamed, or they experience that we're blaming, shaming, judging, making wrong, that enough of those experiences and our trust goes down, and they go from being an ally to an enemy until we have to separate. Mm-hmm. So that's why it's so important for us to watch what we say, watch how we speak, and really learn not to ever blame or shame or judge or make wrong. Mm-hmm. And those are the tools that we teach. Monique and Peter and Emily and myself and Paul, these are the tools that we teach. And we're so excited about these tools. And we teach them in different ways. We share them in different ways. Sometimes it's through online training. Sometimes it's through webinars like this. Sometimes it's through live classes, events, and workshops. And so would like to ask permission to share with you a little bit more about how we love to share these tools.
Take it away, Paul.
Thank you. There is a huge difference between information and transformation, and most of the people that got on this call did not. They might have thought they got on the call to get more information, but in the long run, information isn't always that useful. What you really want is transformation, and that's where you take information and integrate it. And what we've got is several different ways of doing that. And it starts by making a decision. There's a huge difference between people who dabble in a relationship and people who want to master it. So it's like you wouldn't want to go to a dabbling surgeon, and you don't want to have a dabbling relationship. So what we've done is put together, there's a one-day event, and I'll let you talk about that first, Scott and Emily, because I'm not going to be there, but you and Monique and Peter and Emily are all going to be, is it in San Francisco, I believe, and they're going to spend a day taking these tools and integrate them.
Yeah, this Sunday, January 31st, for any of you who live in the Bay Area, Crystal, I see you're with us. I know you're in the Bay Area. We're going to be in Oakland from 1 p.m. until about 9:30 or 10 o'clock, and we're doing a full afternoon and evening called The Evolution of Relationship. and
getting the love you want.
getting the love you want. And we're going to really tailor it to the people that are there. We're expecting about 25 to 35 folks. A lot of people have already registered. And we're going to post as a sticky note where you can register. And if you register between now and tomorrow morning, you can save $20 a ticket. And we're providing a wide variety of experiences. You can get not one, not two, not three, but 4 amazing love coaches. Emily, myself, Monique, and Peter. It's at a beautiful home in the Oakland Hills. And hopefully it looks like I see a dark area where Monique and Peter, I think, might be. So, oh my God, they're going into the bedroom, they're making love, the next one's so dark. But if you're willing to come out of the cave for a moment and share a little bit more about what's going to take place on Sunday, I'd love to hear from you guys as well.
Well, we're super excited to go on the journey with both of you. It's been a while since we taught together, Scott, and I love Oakland. I love Anne's house. Like, she's such an amazing hostess. But part of the beauty of the tools is helping people be able to practice in real time, experiencing empathy, experiencing vulnerability, experiencing that presence. And like one of my favorite tools that everyone always asks for is the silent puja, where people get to stand and face one another and go around the circle and interact with everybody in the room from that heart, from their eyes, from their soul level, without the words, and really be able to drop into that we all have the same feelings underneath, that we're all so much alike, and from that place then everything else just gets really easier, so we can all be vulnerable together. But that's what the whole day is about, is experiential, so you have new reference points in your body of how to be able to fearlessly relate with everyone.
Yeah, and I'll be teaching some qigong and some dance, and through that movement you get more presence. And this is awesome. I mean, the best aphrodisiac is presence. I mean, I've never really thought about that, but you're absolutely right, Scott. So it goes right along with our teaching.
Well, thank you. And we're also going to be teaching some of the best tools of compassionate communication, and we're also going to have an experience of sound healing along with White Tantra Puja.
Yeah, I bring my gifts of sound healing and meditation, and sound is a powerful way to really go in. And I mean, we are frequency, sound, and light. That's what we're made up of. And so when we attune to instruments that are have frequencies, natural frequencies, our body attunes to them, and we literally, like a tuning fork, will tune to those vibrations. And so when we're powerfully aligning our intentions with also dropping into resonance and even singing together, it's a powerful way to open portals to have miracles drop right into your lap and your heart.
So finally, just to conclude on it, if any of you are interested in coming, Paul has posted the link. You just click on that link or copy it and put it into your browser, and that'll show you more information. Sunday afternoon, January 31st, Peter and Monique and Emily and Scott in Oakland.
And the thing is that it's just for the next 48 hours. We have 2 tickets available at $129, right?
Actually, it's through till tomorrow. They have to buy tomorrow by noon.
By noon.
Yeah.
So that anybody that's on the webinar, just to let you know, if you want to get, save an extra $20 before it goes up, it would be great if you jaunt on over there and click the thing and say yes, because you're going to have a breakthrough. Everybody that comes to our events has a breakthrough of some sort.
It's life transforming. Michael has asked a really good question. And maybe, Paul, you've had a chance to read it and respond to it. I don't know if that's the case or not. But I'd like to answer Michael's question, then we'll continue on with another way that people can get more information from us. Paul, have you got a chance to read it, and do you want to tackle it?
No, I actually want to artfully dodge it and let you handle that, because you've taught more around polyamory than I have, and so I'd like to see where you go with that.
All right. Well, I know that probably Peter and Monique might have a lot to talk about. So I'll give an initial thought, and I want to start by saying that we support all forms of relationship. Emily and I choose to be in a more tight container at this time in our relationship. But we've coached a lot of people who have open relationship or polyamory. And our goal is always to make sure that it's polyamory, which is more love, as opposed to polyagony, which is more agony. And really, the first thing I want to say is it's so important what Emily talked about earlier, self-sourcing. And so, Michael, I do understand personally, because honestly, I prefer to spend more time with Emily than she necessarily needs or wants. And we've had to balance that.
It's about learning to manage differences, which is a big part of our teaching.
Yeah, it's a very big part of our teaching. And so, I tend to speak in we, she tends to speak in I. And
Scott's way more inclusive. I'm more independent and freedom-driven. So he's more kind of love-based and
devotional.
Devotional and commitment-based, and I'm more of kind of the freedom fighter and wants to go out and do my own thing. And there's nothing wrong with that, but what we have to do is really powerfully bring that out in the vulnerable and see how we can learn from those differences, see how we can even grow closer from learning to honor being in our own integrity with our needs and desires, but also powerfully stepping in and seeing where we can stretch into meeting the other and their desires.
And the key is to be able to vulnerably share and give reassurance. I'm not saying this because I want you to change. I'm not saying this to lay a guilt trip on you. I'm sharing this with you so you understand what goes on for me. So, for example, Michael, if you can just acknowledge that sometimes it's challenging for you, that you want more time with her, lead with your understanding of her value for alone time. If you can lead with that, if you can lead by dropping into her world, acknowledging her value, how precious her alone time is. So I'm not saying this to change that. I want to honor it, but I also just want to give voice to what goes on for me, the vulnerable part of me that sometimes gets scared, or that just misses you, or that just wants to have more time with you. See how we weave back and forth between acknowledging her world, acknowledging what's important to her, but owning what goes on for us.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Maybe turn it over to Peter and Monique. Anything you want to add?
I think you covered it. Having a respectful confrontation or a meeting with that person, and just having a very vulnerable share from yourself about what it is you're wanting without trying to change them or shame them or blame them for their behavior. Monique?
One practice that I use is really honoring myself. Like, I'll sit down if I realize that there's a new trigger that's come up, or it's something that we've had a continuous conversation around, is self-sourcing, like you guys were talking about. But the way that I do it is I sit and really write down, here's what feels true to me. What are other things that could be just as true? And then I write down my partner's name and like what am I imagining is true for them. And so often when my framework, or where I'm coming from, if I'm the one, and I usually am the one that's wanting more time, then my partner's already feeling like that they're giving so much more, because for them then it's a totally different framework. And so it's really being able to recognize, yes, I would love more time, I would love more of whatever it is, and my partner's already at their limit, like they're offering to them, this is huge. And so it was really being able to sit with myself and create these different perspectives that could be just as true as what I'm feeling is true in my body. And so then when I go back to my partner, then I'm able to say, look, these parts of my little girl are speaking up, or this part's happening inside of me, and I really want to honor that, like Scott was talking about, like there's nothing you have to do about it. Are you willing to just listen so that I'm not going away out of fear, or I'm not building resentment, and here's what I'm imagining is happening for you. And so again, it comes back to how can we be allies even when there's parts that we're longing for that just aren't being met.
Find empathy in yourself and that compassion to make that bridge between your partner or your beloved, and that will help. That'll help you.
Beautiful. Thank you. And good question, Michael. And I want to acknowledge what Jag wrote in the chat room. Very, very true. Thank you. Paul?
You guys mute your mic, please.
Okay, one quick thing, and I don't want to. For a lot of people, polyamory is not that might be on the call might not be a reality. So don't worry, polyamory or monogamy, that's not what the issue is. It's how do we meet beautiful needs. And the careful thing, because I noticed some comments coming up about what people should do or shouldn't do, is be very careful when you're dealing with needs not to jump too quickly into the strategy. You should find a different person, or you should do this, or it's like, really get clear what needs you're trying to meet inside yourself and what your partner is trying to meet before you dive into strategy, because a lot of times the strategy that we pick can make things worse than it was if we're not clear on the need. So that is just universal, no matter monogamous, polyamorous, it doesn't matter. We're in a relationship where our needs are going to be different at different times than our partner. So I just wanted to tie it in so everybody could connect to it, and also caution to slow down when it becomes intense, and that's the hardest thing to do.
Thank you, Paul.
Which is a great segue, into
yes.
kind of what we're offering, because that's the foundation really of our teaching, is really the beauty of feelings and needs. So take it away, Paul.
Yeah, and as I said a minute ago or a little while ago, there's a difference between dabbling and mastery. And there's a lot of things in my life I dabble in. And that's not a problem unless I want mastery results. If I want mastery results, that's when it becomes a problem. So what I wanted to do, well, what Scott and Emily have done, and I've helped them with it a little bit, is put together some place where people who want to master it can come and get the distinctions and get trainings 24/7. So we put together a membership site, and that membership site puts together 3 key components. Number 1, the content. What we're talking about here, there's a ton more there and available, the content. But then sometimes people get stuck. They get the content, and then they need to know, how do I apply the content in my specific situation? Here's my specific situation. Will that work for me? So what they need is they need coaching. So what happened is we put together something where you get content, so you can learn it 24/7 whenever you want, coaching so that you can deal with your specific thing, and coaching that's affordable. Like if someone wants to work with me right now, first place, there's starting to be a backlog, and it's a 3-month commitment, and it's over $1,000 just to get started. So what we wanted to do is give something where people could get coached from some of the best. All of us that are here on this call will be on there periodically coaching. And then the last thing is we wanted to create community, because after coaching, the next thing that people need to really support them and help them implement these tools is a sense of community. Some people to support you, some people who've been through it before. If you look at Monique, she started teaching because she's been through a lot of different stuff and had great lessons out of it, and now she's teaching it, and Emily's teaching it, Peter. And so it starts, though, by being involved in a community that can support you. And what we've also done is set up a community. So Emily, I'm going to switch back and forth with you. That's sort of an opening for it right there. Can we hear you now?
Yeah, thank you. I was corresponding in the chat room, so I think that's just so right on, is that we've got these 3 components. The content, which is basically filled with 7 different modules. And I'd love to just kind of go over a little bit about what those modules are about, so that you can understand what it is inside the membership site.
Should I go to the screen share?
Sure, we can go over to the screen share. And so the first module is really for people in really needing rescue relationship, like tools for immediate needing to get out of disasters. So, we call this the relationship rescue, or relationship 911. And basically this allows you to come in, and at 24/7 you can get your questions or get instant tools to kind of get you out of the reptile brain and get you back in your heart, get you back centered and connected. And so that's why we created this short series of videos in this module.
Yeah, and the thing about 911 is that, listen, sometimes we hit a real crisis, and you can't just call a coach because it's in the middle of the night or whatever it might be. But you can always go to our website and to the online membership site by being part of it. And there's all these videos, and some of them are very specific. How to deal with someone who's in addiction, how to create immediate connected timeouts, how to stay connected even when you're triggered, so you can immediately get the support that you need. And that's what course number 1 is all about.
And then we have course number 2, or module number 2, and it's called The Healing Power of Empathy. And so I just want to kind of ask you right now, and we've seen this on the call, how does it feel when someone tries to fix you or tell you what to do or even tries to rescue you? And I know you ask this thing a lot. Would you like to be fixed, or would you like to be understood?
Yeah, understood.
Yeah.
You know, and so we do that through the power of empathy. And empathy is the foundation of what we teach in compassionate communication, and through our membership site and through our classes.
Yeah, and one of the great things about empathy is it doesn't matter how broken or fractured or how many arguments you've had. We've seen just with these tools of empathy, we've seen the things that people were ready just to throw in the towel around just come back with even greater love. And so it's amazing.
Like I said, we all want to be cared for. And so we teach the people who work with us how to access self-empathy, how to give yourself that love that you need, and then how to give love to the other in your life or others in your life, and for it to be authentic and real, and it truly is a healing power.
Cool. Do you want to be on the screen share too?
Yeah, I'm kind of going back and forth because,
Okay,
I
cool.
wanted to, so we'll go back to screen share.
And then, of course, is our next course in course 3, which is really the basics of compassionate communication. And like we were saying before, is that, like Paul said, it's so easy when we see conflict or we see that someone's not getting their needs met. We want to jump into strategies. We want to tell them, that they're not with the right person, or if they read the right book, then they'd be able to get their relationship issues met. And what we want to do is to be able to learn how to speak the language of feelings and needs, and to be able to manage and learn how to get out of this reptile brain and out of fight, flight, or freeze, and get into the responsiveness center, get into being able to speak courageously and confidently from our heart.
Yeah. I love teaching this part of it, because when we can learn how to go from being triggered and in that reptile brain to being centered by being in our frontal lobes, everything changes. It's a complete game changer. And actually there are very specific and simple techniques that can get us from reptile brain to frontal lobe, caring, empathy, and observation very quickly. So we're going to teach you how to do that.
And our next course is course 4, which is building emotional intelligence.
Emily?
Yeah.
I just want people, I want people, as we're going through this, not just to look and get overwhelmed and go, oh, whoops, my picture's not up. More stuff.
There you
It's like, it's starting to get dark here in Hawaii. I want to go light the room up. Anyway, I want people to think, what would my relationship be like if I had tools, like I had this superpower that Scott has to give almost anybody empathy, or I have this superpower that Emily has of self-sourcing, or being compassionate in their communication. So I don't want you to have people get in their heads of what I need to learn and what I don't need to learn. This is like an ongoing university for relationship mastery. And what would your relationship be like if you could master these skills that you talked about, the empathy, the communication so clearly that you could enter somebody else's world and they could enter yours. And I started my talk today with the toothpick. This is like a whole group of toothpicks. You have a whole bunch of toothpicks, little tools that when you take them out can make huge differences.
Mm-hmm.
And so as you're looking at this is not just something we put together. This is a lifetime of work that really took immense time and energy. And part of the reason we put it here is because there are so many more people that need this help than we can get to one-on-one. And we found that a lot of the tools that most people need are right here. So we put them so that you have access to them 24/7. And then when you need coaching, if you don't want someone intensely coaching you, you can get on like the weekly calls and get the support of the community too. Yeah. So back to you guys, back to the content in there, but I want people to really interact with the content and go, how valuable would that be to me and my relationships? And wow. Like, I went through 1 divorce and 3 broken engagements before I stumbled upon this information, and things would have gone so differently if I had mastered these tools. Back to you, Emily.
Yeah. Thank you. The next one?
Sure. Yeah, the next one is all about emotional intelligence. Have you ever noticed that there are just some people that are impossible to get along with? And have you noticed that even in yourself, that sometimes there's people, maybe it's a family member or an ex-lover or a current lover, that is just so hard to get along with them no matter what you do? Here's the deal. Emotional intelligence is something we can all cultivate. And it's been proven that emotional intelligence is far more important than IQ, mental intelligence, in order to succeed in life, because life is relationships. So when we learn how to listen, how to care, how to play fair, how to create balance in relationships,
how to take responsibility for the consequences of the choices that we make that can impact others.
That's right. That's emotional intelligence. And guess what? It's not like you're just born with it. It's something you can cultivate at any age, at any time, quickly. And the more emotionally intelligent you are, the better your relationships are going to be. And so module number 4, I'll go back to our screen share. Module number 4 is just that, how to cultivate emotional intelligence. And we do it in really, really fun ways. And that's a really wonderful part of our system here.
And I mean, if you think about it, like how all those things that even Peter said, you know, vulnerability, honesty, taking responsibility, all these powerful things, those are the qualities of emotional intelligence. So what would it be like to powerfully embody those within yourself and take those out into the world and just see your relationships flourish? And that's what we have. We have the most amazing connections, and that's why we built this academy too, is to have you guys come in here and be a part of something that is much bigger than we could even imagine, where we can all feel supported, we can all feel the love flowing that's just not out there enough in the world.
I want to say I'm blessed. I'm in an amazing relationship. We live together, we travel together, we teach together. There's times we're together 24/7. She takes her space. You know, we've learned how to handle that. But you know what? In 2 years, we've never had a fight. Never. Now we get triggered. I get triggered, I get scared, but we use these tools, and so instead of it escalating into a fight, we slow down, use the tools, get curious, and always grow closer out of the trigger. And it's because we've cultivated emotional intelligence together.
Yay. So Module 5 is how to manage difficult people and difficult behavior. In life, there will always be people that will piss you off, drive you crazy, no matter how compassionate and loving you want to be. And a lot of times I've seen a lot of people just be very hopeless and helpless in these situations because they don't know how to manage people with behavior that are extremely critical, judgmental, maybe they have addictions, maybe they do the blame-shame thing. How do we manage those people, you know?
And we're going to show you how. And between all of us, Paul, Emily, myself, Monique, all the different love coaches, we've helped thousands and thousands of people learn how to manage difficult behavior, and you name it. Family members, office workers, friends, people you live with. We're going to show you how to manage that. And the tools are actually pretty simple, very specific, and very effective.
Yay.
Now, you know, some part of managing it is learning how to set boundaries but doing it in a compassionate way.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's true, there are times that people will behave in a way that doesn't meet our need for respect, doesn't meet our need for safety. Now, sometimes we're really good at setting boundaries, but we do it in a way where we're kind of a dick, you know? And other times, we're like so wanting to be kind and so wanting to be considerate, and if only I'm nice, then they'll be nice to me. Well, we don't know how to set the boundaries.
Or we do the whole thing where we shut down and we don't even set a boundary, but we do the withdrawal punishment thing and separate ourselves and go into separation, and that's not good either.
Right.
So how do we become aware of all these mechanisms that are so ingrained in our psyche when we get triggered, and how to effectively really speak up for ourselves in a way that keeps us connected and brings even more love or compassion to the relationship.
And so through the membership site, you can go in and learn a step-by-step process, and you can apply exactly what difficult situation you might be in, how to set boundaries, and to do it in a compassionate way where you have the best chance for that person still feeling connected and cared for while taking good care of yourself.
And Module 7, which is the 7 simple adjustments to create more love in your life. And this is where we go deep into looking at the old paradigm, looking at ways of attacking, blaming, shaming, all the things that just are really promote fear and separation in our relationships, and really making a conscious decision to put an end to that and learn practical tools of how to translate a lot of those behaviors so we can understand, okay, what are the powerful needs that are not met underneath these kinds of old paradigm ways of behaving. So if you knew that you could turn around any conflict and not take things personally, especially when people are throwing their junk on you with the whole blamey, shamey thing, how amazing would your relationships be? It's just, it's a game changer.
It's a game changer. So those are our 7 primary modules. We also, when you come on in, you're going to get access to our best-selling CDs, which are amazing. You can listen to them as podcasts or all sorts of ways. But there's a whole other part of what we do, and that is we're creating an online community all around the world. And even in this call today, we've got Jaguar from New Zealand, we've got Audrey from Southern California, Michael Greenhouse from the Bay Area. Just those are some people that I recognized. We have people from all over the world that we work with. Emily and I last year traveled to Australia, New Zealand. On this call, we've got Monique and Paul and Peter all in Hawaii. So we are building a worldwide community of people who are dedicated to compassionate communication, and it's very, very exciting.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to stop sharing and come back to where you can see us. So these are some of the things, and Paul, would you be willing to put up the link to where people can get, we have a special offer for people that have watched this webinar. If you want to get a lifetime membership, this is a limited time that you can get a lifetime membership to our community. We're going to change it so that it's probably going to go to a higher price. The regular price is $500. But if you register with the link that Paul's going to give you, it's only $375 lifetime membership. And I know that Crystal and Jaguar and several of the other people that joined us today are part of our community, part of the membership site. Yeah.
And Scott, just so you know, I did put it up there. It's bit.ly, so you can look at it. And you might have to copy and paste that into your browser so you get it. And
oh, that's great.
If you think that we are trying to sell you on going and doing this, you are absolutely right. That's are.
Right. We want to be with you.
Yeah, and it's, I couldn't think of some place where you get more value and more learning on how to transform, how to take information, integrate it, and create transformation in your relationship. And that's an incredibly powerful tool. And Scott put it back up there now. And what I want to do is I want to inspire people to take action. And one of the things he keeps playing with, his reptile brain, and the reptile brain is, yeah, his is bigger, badder. I have dinosaur shame. But it tries to talk us out of things. Like, well, I'll think about it. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it, and it's like tomorrow never comes. We get busy. So what I want to do is offer something for the people who take action now, because that's where you're going to have a breakthrough. You never have a breakthrough tomorrow. In fact, there was a great sign at one of the restaurants we ate here in Kauai that said, "Free beer tomorrow." That takes a second to kind of get it, but tomorrow never shows up, so they never give out free beer. The sign always says free beer tomorrow. And it's like, I'm going to have transformation tomorrow.
Right.
And transformation happens when we commit to it and do it today. So what we want to do is offer you a reason to do it today. And one of the reasons I'm going to offer is if people do it today, I will gladly offer one of my relationship breakthrough sessions, and they're very intense and they're very wonderful, and people get to explore where are they now in their relationship, where do they want to be, and what's in the way of doing that, and what's the roadblock, and what's the strategy. And one of the big strategies is get on the membership site. But I'm going to offer that to people, and that's, over $100 that I charge to do that, and come and do it and get one for free if you sign up in the next. I'll make it 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to do it in the next 24 hours, and you have to take action and let me know, because I'm very busy, so I want to set aside that time.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, thank you. I mean, if Paul's going to offer that, I guess I better offer it too.
But we better step up to the plate.
We better step up to the plate, right?
Yeah.
So if any of you, whoever registers in the next 24 hours, you get to choose one of us to get a free session, a free breakthrough session where we're going to talk to you via Skype, and but you got to register in the next 24 hours. I also really want to acknowledge Crystal. She's a member of the site, and it's so beautiful what you're saying. And for those of you who are just listening on your phone, she wrote, "My heart is telling me to self-source and keep healing, even though sometimes I feel like I can't possibly heal my relationships. These tools are my lifeline to hope right now. Seriously, thank God for the love coaches and for these tools going global." And thank you, Crystal. Crystal is a mother of 2 children, and it really touches my heart to read what you just wrote. Thank you very, very much.
So we would also love to offer in the next 24 hours a free breakthrough session. Scott and I also, we only see people in 3-month packages because we're really interested to see genuine breakthrough and give results that are lasting and give you the tools that you can actually implement, because we're not interested in quick fixes. We don't believe in quick fixes. If you really want to see lasting change, you got to be able to put some of the work in to be able to powerfully change your life. And we do this work in the membership site, and we also do it really fast and effective with private coaching, getting really down in and finding out what are your core issues and really slicing those off and getting you the tools that you need so that you can have the love and the compassion and the great relationships you want.
So we want to thank you, and I guess the last thing to say about the membership site is it does include live coaching calls, lots of webinars, all the videos. We've got an ever-expanding group of love coaches that will be coming in and teaching through the site.
And also we do interviews with other experts,
really
Jonathan
cool
Robinson and other people that will be coming on.
Yep, Daniel Schmachtenberger.
Yeah.
So I think we're wrapping up for the night. We kind of went a little bit longer than we thought we were going to. So we want to thank all of you for joining us.
Yay.
I want to thank Mead, who is our tech wizard, our webmaster, and the guy who made this all happen. Mead Rose, thank you for all your time, and God bless you, dear friend. Thank you, Paul Sterling. Thank you, Monique and Peter, who I think have gone off into the sunset.
Went to dinner.
They're off to dinner. That sounds kind of good, except for on a juice fast.
I know.
We want to thank all of you, and we look forward to hearing from you. Register for the site. For those of you in the Bay Area, hopefully we'll see you on Sunday. And you know what? I will also put in our email address. If any of you want to email questions of how you, if you want, or if you're interested in maybe coaching, I'll give you our email.
Here is the site again, so that just goes to the top of the page, and
Awesome.
then you want to do Love Coach.
Info@lovecoachacademy.com.
And thank you, Scott. How much work goes on behind the scenes to make one of these happen.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you,
Thank
Paul.
you.
We love you.
Thank
And
you
give
so much.
big love to Natalie. And let's touch in with each other maybe tomorrow morning.
All right,
All right.
guys. Thank you so much.
Good night, everybody. Thank you, Mimi. Thank you, Jaguar. Thank you, Golden. Thank you, all of our friends. Bye-bye, Michael.
Have a beautiful
Bye-bye,
night.
Crystal. Bye-bye, Truth. Oh, Truth was with us. Yay! Truth is going to be there on Sunday.
nice.
That's great news. That's really good news. We love Truth. Truth will be in the house. Good night, everybody. And Mead, you can close it down. Mead? Mead? Help. Help.
Is he there?
I don't know. Maybe fell asleep. But we're still live, which means it's all being recorded.